Clash Royale has had some insane card ideas over the years. Some brilliant, some ridiculous, and a few so broken they never made it into the game. But what if they did? Number 1. Portals. Imagine placing a portal entrance on your side of the arena and instantly warping troops to the other lane or even behind the enemy tower. That is what the portal card was designed to do. It would cost 4 Elixir and let players control space like never before. On paper, it sounds brilliant. In reality, total chaos. The concept was to place an entrance and an exit anywhere on the map, creating a direct link for troops to pass through. Defensive setups would collapse, strategies would flip, and counters like splash damage would lose their value. You could bypass entire pushes with a single placement. Supercell scrapped the idea because of balance nightmares. They eventually released the concept of the Mighty Miner, whose ability mimics a teleport, but only for himself. A full portal? Now that would have just been meta-shattering. It is a card that would have broken not just matches, but the entire way Clash Royale is played. Number 2. Wizard Tower. If you've played Clash of Clans, you already know how deadly the Wizard Tower is. It's a building that dishes out splash damage with rapid fire magic. Now imagine replacing the Princess Towers in Clash Royale with Wizard Towers. Yeah, Supercell already considered that. The Wizard Tower would have been a built-in tower with area damage instead of single-target shots. Sounds cool until you realize it would completely shut down swarm cards, bridge spam, and air decks. While the idea was eventually scrapped, it shows how close Supercell came to completely redefining defense in Clash Royale. In the end, it was likely removed because it gave too much value for no skill, leading to lopsided matches where weaker players could dominate just by doing nothing. Still, you gotta admit, the visual of the triple firing Wizard Tower sounds pretty awesome. Number 3. Giant Dragon. We have Baby Dragon, Skeleton Dragons, and Inferno Dragon, but Supercell once considered going full fantasy with a massive, full-sized dragon. This wasn't just some fireball sneezing cousin of the Baby Dragon, this was a tower-sized beast with massive HP, AoE splash, and the raw power of a legendary card. The dragon was scrapped for a few reasons. First, it was just too big to properly fit in the arena. Second, it dominated simulations, melting troops and buildings alike before counters could even reach it. Instead, Supercell gave us the Phoenix, which is about as close as we'll ever get. But the original dragon, it was less of a support card and more of a flying win condition. If it made it to the game, you'd either run it or lose to it. Number 4. Elixir storage. What if you could bank Elixir, save it for later? That is exactly what the Elixir storage building was meant to do. This card would let you store up to 100 Elixir. Seriously, imagine dropping a Golem, 3 Musketeers, and Elite Barbarians at the same time. You could save Overflow Elixir and unleash it in massive, overwhelming waves. Sounds fun, right? Supercell wisely threw this idea into the vault, but for a brief moment, Clash Royale almost became a game where you could hoard Elixir like gold and flood the map with madness. Just imagine facing someone with 100 Elixir and knowing you're already dead. Number 5. Barbarian King. The Golden Knight we have today, that wasn't the original plan. Supercell originally wanted to bring a true Barbarian King, complete with custom charge ability and defensive spawner pad. He would have been a direct champion card, modeled after his Clash of Clans counterpart. Tanky, melee, and able to summon reinforcements or buff nearby allies. The Barbarian King was meant to feel like a battlefield commander, but when early versions proved too clunky and hard to balance, they shelved him. Instead, we got the Golden Knight, a flashy mobile duelist with a dash mechanic that still gives players nightmares. But let's be honest, a fully functional Barbarian King charging down the lane with spawn troops behind him, that is not a champion. That is a win condition disguised as a leader. We might have missed out on one of the most iconic cards that could have broken the ladder in style. By the way, if you are enjoying this so far, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. Thanks. Number 6. Elite Barbarian Spawner. Just hearing the words Elite Barbarians is enough to make most Clash Royale players roll their eyes. Now imagine a card that spawns 4 of them. And that is exactly what the Elite Barbarian Spawner would have done. Costing 8 Elixir, it would have worked like the Barbarian HUD, but instead of spawning regular barbs, it spawned 2 pairs of E-barbs over time. Each E-barb normally costs 3 Elixir, so this spawner gave you 12 Elixir value for 8. And worse, it created non-stop lane pressure. Defend one wave of elite barbarians, and by the time you counter-pushed, another wave was coming. Supercell scrapped this idea quickly, likely after realizing how toxic it would make mid-ladder. Combine this with Rage or Lumberjack, and you'd create an endless death loop of bridge spam that no one could escape. In the right hands, it wouldn't just break the meta, it would break your soul. Number 7. Trojan Horse. Take the concept of Battle Ram and crank it up to 11. That is the Trojan Horse, a giant wooden siege card that slowly rolled toward enemy towers like a ticking time bomb. But here's the twist. The Trojan Horse didn't just charge and break. Once it reached a tower, it exploded, destroying everything in the area, and then deployed troops hidden inside, essentially combining damage, distraction, and a push all in one. It would have cost 6 Elixir and been considered a moving building, making it the first of its kind. That alone broke the design rules Clash Royale follows: buildings don't move, and siege units don't explode and deploy support. Supercell killed the idea because there was no clean counter to it. You couldn't kite it like a building, and if you didn't stop it early, you'd eat an explosion and a troop wave. Balance-wise, this thing was a nightmare waiting to happen. Number 8. Mini Sparkies. Yeah, you heard that right. Mini Sparkies. Supercell once played with the idea of tiny Sparkies that looked pretty adorable and hit like a truck. Each mini Sparky would deal the same massive damage as regular Sparky, but with low HP, making them vulnerable to spells like Log and Zap. They'd spawn as a group, probably 2 or 3 at a time, and cost around 9 Elixir. In theory, it sounds fun, but in practice, terrifying. Imagine failing to counter a group of mini Sparkies. One slips through, charges up, and one-shots your tower. That is a mistake that you wouldn't get to make twice. Now imagine dealing with them every game in mid-ladder. While the animation for mini Sparkies looked amazing, the reality is that it would have introduced way too much burst damage into the game. One wrong move and you're 3 crowned in under a minute. Supercell buried this idea, and for good reason. Number 9. Chain Tesla. The regular Tesla has always been a low-key menace, but what if it had an upgrade, one that could zap multiple targets at once? That's what the Chain Tesla was meant to be, a new building that fired electric arcs, chaining its damage between up to 3 units at once, similar to how the Electro Dragon or Multi-target Inferno works. The idea was scrapped because it overlapped with existing cards too much, like Electro Wizard and Electro Dragon, but because it was also impossible to balance. It was too weak in some matchups and completely shut down others. Supercell's design philosophy avoids do-it-all cards, and this one checked every box. Powerful, splash, anti-air, cheap, and invincible when idle. Yeah, this thing would have been the definition of a meta breaker. Number 10. Mega Pekka. We already have the Mini Pekka and regular Pekka, but for a short time, Supercell considered the most dangerous version yet, the Mega Pekka. This unit came in 3 versions during testing. One form had infinite damage but super low health, similar to the Super Mini Pekka in the seasonal modes. One version spawned a Mini Pekka on death and another only targeted towers, acting like a walking doomsday machine. It would have been a legendary drop with costs ranging from 7 to 9 Elixir depending on which version was being tested. But here is the problem. All 3 versions were completely broken. Infinite damage meant no counterplay. Spawning a mini Pekka on death gave guaranteed trade value. And a Pekka that ignored everything except towers, that was a nightmare. Supercell shut down the Mega Pekka idea before it got out of the lab, and good call, because this thing would have ended defense as we know it. Number 11. Multi-target Inferno Tower. Now we all know how terrifying a single Inferno Tower can be when it ramps up. Now imagine one that could do that to multiple troops at once. The multi-target Inferno Tower was inspired by its Clash of Clans counterpart, which deals ramping damage to multiple enemies in a chain-like pattern. In Clash Royale, this would have meant splitting that deadly laser across 2 or even 3 units simultaneously. It was designed as a counter to swarm heavy pushes, bridge spam, and tank support combos, but in testing, it turned out to be way too efficient. Supercell scrapped the idea, not just because it was overpowered, but because it completely killed strategic diversity. When one building can counter everything, there's no room left for creativity or comeback potential. This one would have broken the meta beyond repair. Number 12. Gift Spell. At first glance, the gift spell sounds festive and fun, but it was dangerously close to turning Clash Royale into a slot machine. Here's how it worked. Casting the gift spell would randomly summon any one card in the game, even if it wasn't in your deck. Yeah, even champions, even evolutions, even win conditions you didn't bring with you. There was no reliable counter strategy. The chaos was part of the appeal, but Supercell ultimately scrapped the idea. The last thing Clash Royale needed was more uncontrollable RNG. Number 13. Hologram Tower. A fake building designed to trick your opponent. It looked like a normal tower to your enemy, but in reality it did nothing. No attack, no defense, just a hologram taking up space and baiting out spells or misplays. It was essentially a mind game card. This could have been used to bait a fireball, block troop pathing, or even trick an opponent into ignoring a lane. Supercell axed the concept, deciding that Clash Royale wasn't built for high-level bluff mechanics. Still, the idea of a fake tower lives rent-free in many players' heads. Number 14. Bear Trap. The Bear Trap was a 4 Elixir epic card that worked like an invisible mine, hidden on the battlefield until a troop stepped on it. Once triggered, it would deal massive single-target damage, enough to destroy most support troops or heavily injured tanks. It was a direct nod to the trap mechanics in Clash of Clans, designed to punish predictable pathing or brute force pushes. Sounds great, right? Here's the problem. It was completely invisible until triggered, which made it nearly impossible to play around. Supercell scrapped it because it made the game feel unfair. Getting punished for playing normally without a chance to react doesn't feel like a skill issue. It just feels cheap. The Bear Trap was too sneaky for Clash Royale's reactive combat style. Number 15. The Ghost. Before the Royal Ghost became the beloved stealth assassin we know today, Supercell experimented with an alternate version, simply called the Ghost. This version was more stylized, darker, creepier, and carried a long chain weapon. It looked like something straight out of a Halloween skin pack and was meant to be a legendary troop with stealth, splash, and a slightly higher cost. Visually, it was stunning, but Supercell decided against it, saying the unit didn't look holographic enough to fit into the Clash Royale world. Number 16. Invisible Spell. This one's a fan concept, but it caught a lot of attention for how insane it could be. Imagine a spell that makes your troops completely invisible to enemy defenses. No targeting, no counterplay, just pure stealth. The original idea had it at 2 Elixir, which would have been totally broken on something like Hog Rider or Sparky. Some versions bumped it up to 4 Elixir, gave it a short radius and limited duration, but even then, it would still be devastating. A well-timed invisible spell could let a high-damage troop walk straight through defense and hit towers before anyone could react. It basically removes one of Clash Royale's core rules, reactive counterplay. Cool on paper, but in reality it would make defense feel pointless. That's why this one stays in the realm of fanfiction. Number 17. Walnut Bowling Minigame. This one isn't a card, but it's one of the coolest side mode ideas fans have come up with. A Plants vs. Zombies style minigame where you drop logs, tornadoes, and other spells to stop waves of incoming enemies. No towers, no troops, just timing and spell placement. It would have added a totally different rhythm from Clash Royale. More arcade, more chaotic, and honestly way more fun than grinding ladder or Clan Wars 2. It's the kind of mode that could have gone viral, especially with casual players. Still no sign of it ever happening, but man, we can dream. Number 18. Tower Defense Mode. This fan-made idea turns Clash Royale into a full-on tower defense game. You place troops like archers, magic archer, or dart goblin on preset tiles, upgrade them round by round, and try to survive increasingly difficult waves. You have to manage Elixir, pick upgrades, and playing your defense like Bloons TD meets Clash Royale. It doesn't touch ladder or ranked play, but adds replay value, daily engagement, and tons of potential. Let's be honest, this would have been a way better use of dev time than Clan Wars 2. Number 19. Empty Tower. This one is wild. A buildable tower shell where you insert a ranged unit like Musketeer or Magic Archer, and it becomes a temporary defensive building. It gives the troop bonus range and protection for about 30 seconds, letting you reposition and protect key units mid-match. People even joked about it being a champion building or a Diamond Pass exclusive. It's definitely cheesy, but it's also high skill if balanced right. Still, it walks the line of turning Clash Royale into tower defense inside tower defense, which could be either amazing or totally cursed. I mean, just imagine placing Evo archers into a tower. Number 20, the fan building. Inspired by Clash of Clans, this fan idea introduces a fan building that constantly pushes enemy troops away in a straight line for 20 seconds. It doesn't deal damage, but it is pure disruption. Ground, air, doesn't matter. You drop this thing and it just blows everything back. People suggested making it super expensive, like 7 or 9 Elixir to balance its power, but even then it could shut down entire win conditions. If it didn't push your own troops, this thing would be in every deck. It's unique for sure, but way too easy to abuse. Number 21, champion spells. What if spells had abilities like champions? Well, that's what this concept explores. One version, a golden fireball that splits into 5 smaller fireballs, another, a rocket that speeds up midair if you activate it. It breaks a lot of Clash Royale's core design rules though, like predictable spell timing and static damage, but the idea is super fun. The problem would be the balancing. Too weak and no one uses them, too strong and they become completely unfair. It's a cool thought experiment, but maybe it's best left there. Number 22, the Time Spirit. This one is actually genius. The Time Spirit doesn't do damage, it just rewinds one enemy troop back to where it was a few seconds ago. It sounds broken, but it has smart counters. It's weak against swarms and doesn't work well if your opponent spaces correctly. This is probably one of the most viable fan-made card concepts out there. With the right cost and targeting limits, it could genuinely fit the game. Number 23, Survival Mode. Think Clash Royale meets Vampire Survivors. You start with a single unit like a level 1 Archer Queen or Golden Knight and survive wave after wave of enemies. Each round you choose upgrades like splash damage, speed boosts, or troop swarms. It's fast, chaotic, and replayable. Totally different from ladder or competitive play, but exactly the kind of mode that would bring players back every day. It's ambitious, but also probably the most exciting fan concept on this list. Number 24, floating balloons for ground troops. This one is just straight up chaos. You attach a balloon to a ground unit and for a few seconds it flies. Suddenly your pekka is floating over buildings like it's nothing. To balance it, people suggested give the balloons low HP and a short duration. If the balloons get popped, your troop dies instantly, but if it doesn't, you've got a flying tank that is going straight to the tower. It's high risk, high reward, and pure mayhem. Number 25. Headhunter. This fan-made Headhunter concept, created by Mythic Royale, had the potential to become one of Clash Royale's most unique defensive cards. Several versions were imagined, each one with different stats and effects, but all shared one core idea: slowing down enemies on hit. The first version featured fast hit speed, low damage, and a long-range attack that applied a slowing effect. The second was more balanced, with medium stats across the board, but the third idea leaned fully into control. Slow hit speed, very low damage, but a massive slowing effect, designed to stall even the biggest pushes. Essentially, it would function like an ice wizard without splash, but with higher HP to make up for its lack of area damage. A pure support card. It's unlikely Supercell will add it, but with some polish, the Headhunter could be a meta-defining favorite. Number 26. Ice Minion. This one is deceptively simple, but potentially game-changing. The Ice Minion would look and feel like a regular minion, but with a twist, way more health, and a completely different role. Instead of supporting pushes, this minion would be a flying win condition, targeting only towers. It wouldn't hit troops, it wouldn't play defense, it would head straight for the enemy's princess tower. And here's the kicker: when it dies, it explodes with a freeze effect, locking everything nearby and dealing AoE damage. It's like combining a minion, freeze spell, and death damage into one unit, and giving air decks a fresh win condition outside of Lava Hound. Number 27. Ice Dragon. Now this one would be seriously cool. I guess literally. Think Baby Dragon but with a frosty twist. Instead of spitting fireballs, the Ice Dragon would launch snowballs or ice spirits. The concept is simple but brilliant. Slightly less damage than Baby Dragon, but with an added slow effect on everything it hits. That means that support troops, swarms, and even tanks would move slower, giving you more time to react, defend, or build a counter push. It's not game-breaking, but it adds a fresh layer of control and versatility, especially for air decks. Number 28. Flame Flinger. This concept is pretty unique, and it actually feels like something that could work in Clash Royale. The Flame Flinger would move very slowly, lobbing large fire sparks at enemies from a distance, dealing area damage with each hit. But here is the fun twist. When it's destroyed, a fire spirit jumps out. It's a small touch, but it adds so much personality, almost like the little fire spirit was driving the thing the entire time. Balance-wise, it wouldn't deal massive damage per shot, but the splash effect and persistent pressure, especially if it worked like a cannon cart-style troop, could introduce a new kind of ranged control. Strong, flavorful, and mechanically fresh, Flame Flinger could be a fiery new addition to the game's arsenal. Number 29. Night Witch. Tower Troop. So tower troops are always tricky to balance, but this concept could really shake things up. Imagine a Night Witch as a tower troop, permanently sitting on the Princess Tower, attacking both air and ground with a shorter range, but much heavier damage. Like the original Night Witch, she'd also spawn bats over time, adding some passive pressure and defensive value. Because of her limited range, she'd need support from spells or long-range troops to deal with early threats. But when something finally walks into her zone, boom. Deleted. Of course, there are downsides. She wouldn't hit as close to the river like the Princess or Dagger Duchess, but that's what makes her interesting. You'd have to build a deck around her strengths, stacking control cards, countering air, and playing slower. It's a really fresh take on tower troops, and something that could lead to a brand new meta. Number 30. Ice Hound. This one is pretty straightforward, but super interesting. Ice Hound would work a lot like Lava Hound, slow, tanky, fire straight at the tower, but instead of exploding into lava pups, it would have a few big twists. First, when it dies, it would trigger a freeze effect, slowing down everything nearby for a couple of seconds. Second, while it's alive and attacking, it would slow the attack speed of any buildings or tower troops it's hitting. Kind of like a passive debuff. It'd probably cost the same as a Lava Hound, but to keep it balanced, it would spawn fewer icy pups than the Lava Hound does. This way, it still has value, but it isn't completely busted with the freeze effect on top of everything else. Number 31. Igloo. The Igloo would be a 3-elixir epic building that spawns ice spirits every 5 seconds. Think of it like a frozen version of the furnace. Since Ice Spirit is already one of the most popular cycle cards in Clash Royale, adding a building around it just kinda makes sense. It's defensive, fast-paced, and could bring a fresh chill to cycle decks. The concept was created by a designer called Me Graphics, and it is genuinely brilliant, but the next 2 ideas from him, they are even more insane, especially the last one. Number 32. Bat's Cave. This one is long overdue. The Bat's Cave is an epic building that spawns bats every 4 seconds. We've had ground spawning huts forever, but a building that spawns air troops, that would open up completely new strategies and deck types. This would be the card that finally makes air control decks more viable. Number 33. Submarine. The Submarine is a concept so unique, it genuinely feels like something that could reinvent how Clash Royale works. It's a troop designed to control the water, a part of the arena that's really never been used in gameplay. The Submarine acts like a champion-level cannon cart. When placed in the river, it can submerge and stay hidden, just like a Royal Ghost or Archer Queen. While underwater, it can't be targeted, but it slowly loses HP to balance things out. Once surfaced, it attacks with rockets, dealing damage to both air and ground troops with a long range similar to Expo or Princess. The player can control when it dives or resurfaces using an ability button, each costing 1 elixir. And because it's in the water, it can only patrol one side of the arena, depending on where you place it. That adds a layer of positioning strategy we've never really had before. Some troops like Musketeer or Archers can hit it, but others like Hog Rider or Bandit can't reach it at all. It's part stealth, part siege, and 100% disruptive. This card is bold, imaginative, and exactly the kind of thing that would break the Clash meta wide open if it ever got added. Now, since we're through so many card ideas that don't even exist, you gotta check out this next video where I share one lore fact for every card in Clash Royale. You won't believe what's hidden behind some of your favorite cards. I'll see you there.